Catherine.
No, I'm Elena.
Oh, you. You just look... I'm sorry. You just really remind me of someone. I'm Damon.
Not to be rude or anything, Damon, but it's kind of creepy that you're out here in the middle of nowhere.
You want to talk? You're out here all by yourself.
It's Mystic Falls. Nothing bad ever happens here. Got into a fight with my boyfriend.
About what? May I ask?
Life, future, he's got it all mapped out.
You don't want it?
I don't know what I want.
Well, that's not true. You want what everybody wants.
What? A mysterious stranger who has all the answers?
Well, let's just say I've been around a long time. I've learned a few things.
So, Damon, tell me, what is it that I want?
You want a love that consumes you. You want passion and adventure and even a little danger.
So, what do you want? It's my parents.
I want you to get everything you're looking for. But right now, I want you to forget that this happened. Can't have people knowing I'm in town yet. Good night, Elena.
Hi, welcome to my video on looking at Elena Gilbert from the Vampire Diaries. I will be reading from my notes, so if I look down then that's probably what I'm doing. Also, this is my very first video I've ever done, ever. So I'm sorry if the quality is not great, or if I seem nervous, or not sure what to say or do. I'll try and edit it so that it's not looking too rubbish. But actually felt that I had to make this video desperately. Felt like I needed to make this video. And I'm really nervous about doing it, but let's get on with it then, just so that I don't make a fool of myself too much. We'll just get into the information, talk about Elena Gilbert from the Vampire Diaries, and I will be touching slightly on her relationships with other people, but this is mainly just to look at her as a character and her progression within the show. Because I feel like a lot of people don't seem to understand her character very well. There's a lot of people who hate her or think she's annoying, or just any kind of reason. They just say she's inconsistent, which she's not that inconsistent, and we'll get into that. So at the beginning of this video, we started off with a clip of Elena meeting Damon for the first time. The reason why I put that first is because this moment is important. More important than just for Damon and Elena as a couple. It's important for Elena because it's the very first time she's compelled by anybody. And it doesn't matter that it's by Damon, it's what he says to her that is important. And he tells her that he wants her to get everything that she's looking for. And the reason why that's important is because it influences her choices within the first 2 seasons and part of season 3 as well. But specifically, I would say the first 2 seasons are very important for understanding his compulsion, because that's where it's the freshest and the most prominent. She meets Stefan in that first episode, and keep in mind that she's compelled to get everything that she wants, basically. She get what she's looking for. She wants to find everything that she's looking for in life and be happy and feel loved and excited. So going into that very relationship, and the reason Stefan is the one she picks is because she feels that he is an important part of moving forwards with her life after having lost her parents. And that's why it takes so long for them to get to the point of breaking up. So at that part of her life, she is very low in self-worth, and she doesn't feel like she's worth anything really over anybody else. She doesn't feel like she's more important than anybody else, and she has a martyr complex, which is where somebody feels as though they can sacrifice themselves over other people, including for their life, not just, you know, being happy, but their life is less important. So there's that, and obviously she is suffering from PTSD, which is trauma. It's stress trauma, and it comes about when you have been through something traumatic, which Elena has been. So just by losing her parents, it's going to impact how she sees herself and how she interacts with other people, because in the way that she's going to see her life is still around. She's still around in the world. Her parents have died, and she doesn't understand why she lived, other than the fact that she learns that Stefan saved her, obviously. But she doesn't understand how she was allowed to live and they had to die. And that's something that you can struggle with, regardless of whether you tell yourself that you had no control. She's got to deal with it. She's got to deal with that, and she's got to find a way to move forward from that. And unfortunately, that's her biggest mission internally, that people forget that she has this survivor's skill, which is why she is constantly sacrificing herself, saying she doesn't matter, saying that other people are important and that she shouldn't be prioritised over anybody else. So yes, we've got first compulsion, we've got our Stefan cute meet, and then she meets Damon for the first time, obviously. And he's charming, he is attractive, and he is charming, and she can see right through him. And she basically tells him that whatever he is going to do isn't going to work on her, because she can tell that he's making the moves. Obviously, she says that a few episodes later, but that's where it heads, and he doesn't like that. And Stefan gives her the necklace so that he can't compel her anymore, which gives her some safety on that, because already she's compelled. She's already had that influence, which she doesn't know about, and that's what's driving her towards her future right now, is that she is compelled to find the joy and happiness that she wants, the excitement that she wants. So basically, she goes through figuring out who she is. She learns about Catherine. She bonds with Damon somewhat. There's a pull that she doesn't really understand, but she's very good at ignoring it at the first few episodes especially. But that kind of builds up, and we see that. But again, I'm not focusing on relationships. So she kind of has to fall into this role of looking out for her brother, her little brother, Jeremy, who means the world to her, because he's essentially all she has left, especially when Jenna dies. She felt, obviously, very helpless when they lost Jenna. Again, somebody who she loved, who she felt that she couldn't save. And even by sacrificing her own life, there was nothing she could have done. And then she's just thrust into this sole parental role, pretty much. Alaric comes in and he helps and he's there, but he has his own demons and he's a struggling alcoholic, basically. So yeah, she's got Stefan, she's got other people, but you know, I mean, this is Elena we're talking about. Again, self-worth, martyr complex, somebody who feels like her happiness is held up in other people's happiness, in other people's approval. She feels that she will be happy if everybody around her is happy. Unfortunately, that's not possible, but you know, this is how she feels. And because she's so insistent on finding that happiness inside of her, that is why she fights so strongly for other people to approve of her. So yeah, Elena's looking for approval. She's looking for her happiness above all else. And just because she's been compelled to get everything she's been looking for, that doesn't mean that she actually understands her own psyche or her own inner self just yet. That comes later on when she starts to transition into a vampire. Now, that moment is probably the most important, because it means that all of the compulsions that she has had up until that point from Damon or anybody else, that's all gone. She remembers it and she's no longer under its influence. She starts to come out of her shell a little bit, mainly while she's learning how to be a vampire with Damon, because he makes it fun. And she needs that. She needs to feel fun and in control of herself, because that's just something that she hasn't had much of. Control over her own life, over other people's visions of who she is. Her reflection that she sees isn't the person who she is, because there's a fire that's kind of built up inside of her. She has the Petrova fire. You know, she is related to Catherine. Even though it's down a few lines, it's there. She has that inside of her, and she's frightened of it. She's frightened of what that means, of who she might be. And it's also another reason why the sire bond is so important. There's a lot of controversy over the sire bond. Some people love it, some people hate it, some people are a bit indifferent. But it was used as a tool in storytelling to shatter her reserved and carefully constructed persona, because she no longer felt like she had to make everybody around her happy. She only wanted to make Damon happy. And whilst that's not great, and we don't want that to be her whole personality, and why she had to break the sire bond so early on didn't last long, but it did help her to shake all of the expectations that everybody else had about her, that she was trying to meet. Caroline's, her brothers, her parents, even though they were gone. Stefan, who she values Stefan's opinions, and also Bonnie. Bonnie and Caroline were a big reason as to why she hid the things she truly felt for so long. Obviously she had to be mature for her brother, but her friends could be quite judgmental, I want to say. They have been. I love them, don't worry, I'm not going to bash them. But they had an expectation, and she wanted to meet those expectations. She wanted to make them proud and happy, because she thinks her happiness is tied up in them and the people around her. And once she stopped doing that, people were confused. They didn't understand where this new Elena had come from, but Damon knew. She had been stifling herself. She had been holding back. She had been not her true, authentic self. She had been incongruent with who she truly is. And Catherine was a big part of why she did that. Not just of what I've spoken about already, but the fact that she did not want to be Catherine. She did not want to become Catherine. She didn't want to fear living. And she didn't want people to hate her, which was super important. Obviously, with all those memories coming back, her choice to stay with Stefan was kind of falling apart. He now treated her differently. Not completely badly. I'm not here to hate on anyone. He just treated her differently. He was keeping things from her that he didn't want her to have to deal with on top of everything else. He treated her like, as she said, she felt like a broken toy, which I don't think he meant to do that. I think that that actually really hurt his feelings to hear that. But that's how she felt. And how we feel isn't always reality. I want to make that clear. How we feel doesn't mean it's true. But feelings are important. And she felt like she was a broken toy to him. So, but that's not what made her love Damon. So yeah, with all of her shackles broken off, the sire bond helped her to do that, and then she turned her humanity off. And that broke the sire bond. So, obviously we all understand humanityless Elena, because we've seen this several times on the Vampire Diaries, where they turn off their humanity and become something else completely. No inhibitions, no feelings, nothing but just doing what you want, when you want. And that's why when her feelings come back on, when she switches it back on because of Matt, she feels awful. But she still chooses Damon. And the reason she does that is because she's no longer held tethered. She's no longer held tethered by anybody's expectations. She's no longer held tethered by the sire bond. She gets to make her own choice. She gets to make choices that aren't compulsion or influenced by anybody other than what she wants, and she wants him. She finally starts living the way she wants to as she goes to college. She's away from Mystic Falls, and that's why I guess it feels like a new start. And she's not beholden to anybody, and she's somewhere new. And Caroline kind of starts to see another new side of Elena, which she doesn't understand. A happier Elena. Someone who feels like she may be worth something, that she can be somebody. That's kind of liberating and freeing. And when you think about everything that she's been through and everything that she's had to fight against, it's no wonder that she kind of loses all of those things that were holding her back. It's almost like she's reset her age slightly. She's acting a little younger, a little more carefree, more impulsive. And it's not surprising. She's a vampire. She's out in the world. She is going to get what she wants, and she's not going to take no for an answer from the universe. She wants Damon. She wants to become a doctor. She wants friends. But it all falls apart around her. And the thing that shatters it all is Damon dying. He's gone. And she is rudderless. She is in a boat with no rudder. She is floating completely without any guidance, because the love of her life is dead, and everyone just dies around her all the time. But I'm pretty sure that even though vampires die, and we all know this, there was an essence of foreverness to him. because he was immortal and so was she. And that made her feel like it was not going to end, I guess. She wasn't going to lose him, not like she'd lost everybody else. Unfortunately, that's not how the world works, as we know it. And she wipes her memory. She can't cope. She spirals. Her emotions are too much. She feels as though, what's the point of it all? What's the point of keeping going and staying sane? Because she's not sane, not when she loses him. And she has, again, this is something that's trauma. This is a trauma to Elena. This is a triggered trauma residually from losing her parents and losing her brother. He died. That's when she turned her humanity off for the first time. And it's all there. And then Bonnie's gone as well. She doesn't have Bonnie. And it's just too much. Stefan takes off. He's not there. Caroline is distracted, but can see her spiral. And Alaric's not coping. He's an original vampire, and he isn't coping with it. So she feels alone, and she asks him, she begs him, take it all away. Take this pain away. I don't want to feel it. And I can't blame her. And it's not just about the fact that she maybe could have turned her humanity off, because that's something that she wasn't going to do that again. And she knew that it wouldn't help. She might have even gone on some kind of killing spree. Why would she care? So she has his memories removed, which frees her up, I suppose. And that's why when Damon comes back, she gets to kind of experience all of that all over again. That feeling of unconditional love. Of course, she gets unconditional love from other people and her friends. But with Damon, he doesn't care what she does. She could kill 100 people. He would still love her. And it's kind of worrying. But for her, that's just solid. She's tethered. She doesn't feel like she's falling anymore. And there's that glimmer, she says in one of the episodes, that glimmer of something more. She can't put her finger on it, she can't put a name to it, but she feels something and she wants to find out what. Obviously, Nina takes herself out the show at the end of that season, and Elena is put into a coma. So there's not much more to say on her character development from there. It is beautiful watching her fall in love with him again, but that's more of a Damon and Elena relationship conversation rather than just Elena. And I truly believe that her decision to become human again was made because she no longer had all of these memories that influenced her. She was no longer compelled as well to be whatever you know. She had this feeling of wanting a normal human life and a future with the man that she loved. Elena is not a fickle character. She doesn't swap and change her mind. She hasn't swapped brothers. She doesn't love Stefan the way that she loves Damon. There's a reason why he had to be her first boyfriend. Not just because of the compulsion, but because he is all intents and purposes a bit more stable. Doesn't last, but you know, Damon comes in with his humanity switched off at the start of the show and he's compelled her to forget him. So yeah, once she's a vampire and all of those expectations just float away, all of those niggling worries just suddenly don't seem to matter so much, you know, because Damon being happy just makes her feel so good. And she knows that the one she wants is him. And she doesn't go back on that. Obviously, the showrunners like to shippy moments, they like to pepper things in, you know, oh, maybe, but no. She never goes back to Stefan. Even with her memories wiped of being in love with Damon and having the love that she dreamed of, she doesn't go back to Stefan. She doesn't. She knew what she wanted. So, I hope this has helped. I don't know if it has, but I hope it has. Forgive everything. This is not my usual thing. I'm not a YouTuber, I'm not an influencer, I don't make videos. But I've been reading a lot of comments lately, and even before, when I was in the middle of watching the show, made me so frustrated that there's stuff that people just don't get about her. So I'm gonna end it there. Thank you for watching my video. I hope that it brings some understanding to a character that is vastly misunderstood. And have a great weekend.